Evan Carter is heating up. Let's talk Week 13 sleepers up next on Fantasy Baseball Today Express. Welcome into FBT Express on Friday the 13th. I am Frank Stampfl, joined by Scott White. Let's get into our Week 13 preview, beginning with the schedule. 18 teams with 6 games. We have 12 teams with 7 games, including the Nationals, Rays, Padres, Phillies, Athletics, Yankees, Marlins, Dodgers, Angels, Astros, Rockies, and Orioles. Speaking of the Rockies, they do have 7 games next week, 3 at home in Coors Field against the D-backs. Starters sit these 2-star pitchers, and Scott, for the, 3rd week in a row, Lance McCullers at the Athletics and at the Angels.
Yeah, it is the 3rd week in a row we've called McCullers a 2-star pitcher. Obviously, he just keeps not making the 2 starts, which is why it gets delayed till the following week. I think it's going to actually happen this time, though, because he's scheduled to go on a Monday in a 7-game week. Now, the Astros are going with a 6-man rotation right now for this stretch without an off day. So I suppose a rainout could still ruin that second turn for McCullers. But otherwise, we're accounting for there being 6 starters, and it still looks like he's in line for 2 starts. So Athletics and Angels, a couple strikeout-prone teams. McCullers is pretty high for me in the 2-star pitcher rankings.
What about Zach Eflin, who's at Tampa Bay at the Yankees?
Couple tough places to pitch there with those 2 matchups, but Eflin's last 3 turns have been good, and he's advisable in most cases, I'd say.
Casey Mize gets the Pirates and at Tampa Bay.
Love those matchups. Mize hasn't done a lot of good recently, but I think with those matchups, still probably worth using, if only in a points league. Interestingly, he's not available enough to qualify as a sleeper pitcher. He's too rostered in CBS Sports leagues. I'm not sure why, but I guess it should remain so for the 2-star CS coming up.
All right, next up we have Jack Leiter, who has been very up and down this season, but he gets 2 good matchups against the Royals at the Pirates.
Indeed, he does. Even better matchups than Casey Mize. Leiter also doesn't qualify as a sleeper pitcher. He's exactly 80% rostered. But I think, like Mize, he's worth using in a points league.
Next up, we have Chad Patrick. I missed Mick Abel at the Marlins and home against the Mets.
I think you could do him in a points league. Kind of bipolar matchups there. You worry about the Mets one. And we did see the walks rear their ugly head for Abel in his last start. But in points leagues, I can understand wanting to chase the volume, especially since it's a really deep 2-start pitcher crop. Not a lot of studs at the top, but a lot of worthwhile options you could pick up off the waiver wire. And so it might be the sort of week, knowing that, where you need to go a little further. You need to risk a little more to get those extra starts in your lineup, at least in a points league, where a head-to-head points league where that would matter.
All right, we have Chad Patrick at the Cubs and at the Twins.
Fine for points leagues.
Lucas Giolito at the Mariners at the Giants.
I'm okay with him in points leagues too. His last start was decent. The velocity's been trending up, and those aren't bad matchups.
And lastly, we have Bailey Falter, who is pitching well at the Tigers and home against the Rangers.
Because of what I just said about having to kind of push out of your comfort zone to get extra starts in a points league, I think Falter, with the way he's pitched recently, you could use him in that format. Hardly a must, though.
All right, let's take a quick break, and we'll be back right after this. Welcome back in FBT Express. Scott, you already mentioned that there are a lot of 2-star pitchers next week, and your sleeper pitchers, all of them, 2-star pitchers.
Every last one. Top of the list is Matthew Liberatore, who hasn't been great last 3 starts. That ERA has been trending up, but it's not like he started walking guys, and that's been the biggest improvement for him this year. In fact, he lines up for 2 starts, 1 against the White Sox. If it doesn't pan out, we're probably dropping Liberatore, but I think we should stick with him for now. Grant Holmes Actually has 3 9-strikeout efforts this year. It kind of surprised me. And over his last 8 starts, the whiffs have trended up quite a bit. The slider's been playing better. He's gotten burned by walks and home runs. But with 2 starts coming up, one against the Marlins, good time to use Grant Holmes. Jose Soriano coming off his best start, at least of the season, maybe of his career, 12 strikeouts. Gets the Yankees, which we don't love in New York, but he's the best ground ball pitcher in baseball, so he's at least good at home run prevention, is Soriano. And then he gets a much better matchup second time out. The Astros. Clark Schmidt, 81st percentile exit velocities, so a lot of weak contact. And he would also be in the top 25 in swinging strike rate if he had the innings to qualify. He also has 5 quality starts in his last 7, so a lot of things to like here for Clark Schmidt. The matchups as well. He gets the Angels and Orioles. Zach Littell, a nice high floor pitcher, good for whip, gets the Orioles and Tigers. Ben Brown, 2 of his last 3 starts have been great. The one that wasn't came against the Phillies last time out, so tough matchup. Better matchups this week, Brewers and Mariners. Particularly if you're chasing strikeouts, Ben Brown would be a good choice. Sandy Alcantara, been throwing more strikes recently. Seems like he's starting to figure things out. His first matchup next week is against the Phillies, or else he'd be higher. But the second matchup is against the Braves, which is a decent matchup. Slade Ciccone of the Guardians. Starts have been short, but he's been getting whiffs at a nice rate, and a couple good matchups here, or at least mid-tier matchups, Giants and the Athletics. Only 13% rostered is Slade Ciccone, so highly available. Will Warren had a nice bounce back start against the Royals last time out and gets 2 strikeout prone lineups, Angels and Orioles, this upcoming week. And finally, David Festa showed his swing and miss ability last time out. Reds and Brewers are his 2 matchups. And David Festa, is only 17% rostered.
All right, let's slide over to the hitters and the best matchups for next week. Yankees, Nationals, Astros, Rockies, and Diamondbacks. The worst hitter matchups, Mets, Marlins, Guardians, Royals, and Red Sox. With that said, Scott, who are your sleeper hitters for week 13?
Top of the list is Addison Barger, who has done some good work recently in his Baseball Savant page. A lot of red on it. Hits the ball very hard. Tons of upside. Only one lefty on the schedule for Blue Jays this upcoming week. That's been maybe the one issue for Barger, is he sometimes sits against lefties. Josh Lowe of the Rays also sometimes sits against lefties, but there isn't a single one on their schedule this week. 7 righties, including 4 from the Orioles rotation. Gotta love that. So good time to use Josh Lowe. Alejandro Kirk has been one of the hottest hitters in baseball recently. The Blue Jays, I already mentioned their matchups are pretty good there for Barger. 3 of their 6 games are against the White Sox pitching staff. We're going to go with Evan Carter 4th on the list here. Okay matchups for the Rangers, but really he's just been throttling the ball of late. And since in 8 games since returning from a quad injury, his average exit velocity is around 95 miles per hour. It's a small sample, obviously, but that is drastic improvement for Carter, who's never delivered good exit velocity readings. And the results are backing it up. A lot of home runs recently. The one hesitation there is that it's a 6-game week for the Rangers, and 2 of them are against lefties. So it's not clear if Carter's surge has earned him more at bats against lefties or not. So it is a bit of a gamble there, but hey, it's sleeper hitters. Trent Grisham, we'll go with him next. The Yankees, you mentioned, have the best hitter matchups, and all of them are at home. Grisham's splits aren't better at home. They're actually better on the road, but I still think you'd rather have him at home with the short porch and in right field. Lourdes Gurriel with the Diamondbacks having the 5th best matchups. Jordan Beck with the Rockies having the 4th best matchups. Wilmer Flores, because the Giants matchups are also pretty good. And they're all at home, where he's actually been better. Just quietly having a good season to begin with is Flores. Mason Wynn. Cardinals matchups are fine, but really it's more just I'm kind of shocked he's as available as he is. Only 65% rostered. So he was kind of a free space, it felt like here. Luis Garcia has picked things up for the Nationals. They have the 2nd best hitter matchups, 5 against righties, but he's also been playing against lefties some. And that's it. That's all 10.
All right. For more extensive fantasy baseball coverage, listen to our full-length podcast, Fantasy Baseball Today, on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, or anywhere else podcasts are found. Thanks for listening to Fantasy Baseball Today Express, and we will be back again next week. Bye-bye.